Welcome back to the Wine Crush. I'm Laura Lawson, your favorite Chardonnay sipping diva, and we are continuing along our theme for today. We are taking a vacation away from the seriousness of wine. And one of the best ways to do that, at least I've always thought, is to kick back with a good book. And we certainly have some help in that field right now, because right now we have Miss Nadia Gordon. She is the author of the Sonny McCoskey Napa Valley Mystery Series, and I am sure is going to give us a whole lot of great suggestions. Nadia, welcome to the Wine Crush.
Thanks, Laura.
It is
Glad
great.
to be here.
It is great to have someone like you on the show. It's just so nice to have someone that has a refreshing point of view with wine and can turn it into entertainment.
No, it's meant to be fun. It's meant to be enjoyed. In fact, I got out a selection of some of my favorite wines in anticipation of talking with you, because I thought she's going to want to know what I like to drink in the summertime. I know she's going to want to know.
Well, of course, we're going to have to ask that question, but you have to understand, most of our listeners, and I know I speak for myself, our idea of finding entertainment with wine is to pour a second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth glass. So to be able to kick back with a book and not have to stumble downstairs, I'm happy.
Right.
Well, you have a great background regardless, but how did you happen to come across writing a mystery series based on Napa Valley?
Well, it was mostly due to being such a proficient eater and drinker. I just somehow managed to become friends with people in the Bay Area. I live in California, so the San Francisco Bay Area, where the food and wine movement is a way of life here. And I gradually connected with these people, and I just was really inspired by the way they live their lives. A lot of people who cook professionally and who make wine professionally, they just live these very interesting lives. They're very passionate about what they do. They're very deeply connected to the land, especially, it's increasingly true. Like up in Napa, you'll very often find the better restaurants have their enormous, abundant kitchen garden right outside or right across the street. So there's this passion, this environmentalism that's very not political, but more just organic. I mean, in both senses of the word, it's what they do. So I really wanted to write about that. I wanted to capture the joie de vivre and the passion and kind of messiness too. I wanted to write mystery novels, and I was looking for somebody, the sort of person who was gutsy enough to take on a killer.
And I think
some of the chefs, they could do it.
I've seen them with knives. Actually, they've often threatened me with them, so I have great faith they can do something about it. For our listeners, the books we are talking about that Miss Gordon has written, she has written Murder al Fresco, Death by the Glass, Sharpshooter, and Lethal Vintage is her new release. And these are great. They feature her protagonist, Miss Sonny, and Sonny is always into something. But I think what's most amazing about your books is the fact that when you get into the wine world, I'm going to use Sharpshooter as an example. For our listeners, the book is about the fact that the sharpshooter is coming to Napa and that Napa and Sonoma are all upset that the bug is getting loose. And Nadia, your facts are dead on. So when you're reading your books, not only are you getting the gist of the mystery, you actually know what you're talking about. How much research did you have to do, and who have you drug into the whole realm of things to help you out with that?
Well, I do a lot of research for all of the books. For that book, it was everything from, local politicos to, vineyard managers. I talked to a number of them because those are the guys who are really concerned about this, really worried that their vines are going to be wiped out.
And those are the guys that can really talk, too.
They really can.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. So I did some nice tromping around up there, and it's nice. People, they love to talk about their business, and often I'll just call someone and say, I'm writing a book about XYZ, and could I come just follow you around for an hour or two and see what happens? And inevitably, they don't really think about what would be interesting day to day, but inevitably you come across something that's really great. So I do a lot of that. Depending on, each book has sort of a different focus. The Sharpshooter, by the way, has now kind of become much less of a concern because the frosty nights up there seem to be keeping it pretty well in check.
Yes. For every great predator out there, we'll find another one. Something will eat somebody else. We've known that for years.
Well, you have acre after acre of these luscious vines hanging with fruit. I mean, somebody's going to want to eat that.
Fair enough. Well, we've got to get to the heart of the question. Are you a wine drinker?
I am. Although I drink, the way that I enjoy wine kind of changes over the years, early on, I was very much a lover of the French wines, and then I eventually came to really appreciate our California wines. And with the economy the way it is now, we decided around here. I was a collector for a while, and I sort of collect all these great wines. And now we decided that it's time to drink them.
Absolutely. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow, so you might as well enjoy them now.
Well, and they don't age forever. As you realize, wow, time passes. I've been collecting wine now for 15 years, so some of these wines, we need to open them. You keep waiting. It's sort of that sideways moment where you keep waiting for the perfect time to drink this bottle of wine. And, every year it gets more and more valuable, and you think, well, when is the right time to drink, a bottle of wine that's now worth $500? So we've just decided that now's the time.
Probably when reading your new book. Hey, listen, I have a question for you because you have taught me something, and I can't get anyone to back it up, but I'm very curious. For our listeners, when you get into the books, and Sunny is in there, she wakes up in the morning. She's very much a coffee drinker. But one of the first things she does is she gets her coffee, and then she pours a hefty dose of some kind of red wine into her coffee. Nadia, you got to explain that to me. Fill me in. Yeah. What am I missing?
This is something that is not totally unheard of. It's unusual. But a more robust red, a Pinot or a Cab or a Merlot, and it's not a lot, just a little bit of that in your coffee. Some people find that it goes well together. It's sort of the wine and chocolate road. There are certain chemical, how would I say this? There are sort of some commonalities between chocolate and wine and coffee that can be appealing. So this is something Sunny does. I mean, she's soaking in it all the time. So this is her business, and but not a lot, just a little.
I was curious. It was not something I'd ever run across. Well, something we have to ask you, what is the perfect wine to drink while reading a Nadia Gordon book?
Oh, gosh. Well, the ideal, it might change book to book, actually, now that I think of it.
There you go.
I would say the ideal wine for Lethal Vintage, which is very much a summertime book. It's all about that wonderful wine country heat, and it's sort of poolside. And so in that book, they actually drink a bottle of Etude Rosé, the Carneros Pinot Noir Rosé.
Very nice.
It's wonderful. It's pretty widely available. That's a terrific bottle of wine to drink with that book. There's another book that has a little joke at the very end that for that book, I think it was Murder al Fresco. You should open a bottle of Schaefer Hillside Select Cab. I mean, this is one of the best cabs made, and it's if you can get your hands on a bottle of this stuff, that would be the ultimate. And let's see what else. And Groth actually would be a terrific one for Lethal Vintage too. Lethal Vintage on the cover, we actually shot the cover of that book in the tower at Groth Vineyard.
Oh, that's I looked at that, and I thought that looked familiar, and I thought I'm hallucinating.
Yeah, no, we shot it there at Groth. I'm a really big fan of their wines. I think their wines get better every year. I mean, they've always been good. They've gotten better every year. And their cab at this point, it's Groth Oatsville Cabernet. It's just delicious. It's wonderful. And the new one I just tasted a couple of days ago. It's terrific, the 2006. I like their Chardonnay, too, and I even like their Sauvignon Blanc. If you just,
I love their Sauvignon Blanc. I think that's great for the region. In fact, we've used that as a wine recommendation before. Actually, it's great hearing your recommendations. I mean, definitely you have a book for all seasons, and you definitely have a wine for all price points.
Yes.
When you look at the Etude Pinot Gris, you look at the Groth, you look at the Schaefer. Well, ultimately, when you're writing these books, I know that you have, obviously, you're looking at the wine lover. Are you gearing these books exclusively to the wine lover or to anyone who loves a good mystery?
Very much both. I mean, I love great wines, but I wouldn't say that I'm a wine expert. I'm just somebody who likes to drink good wine, and I like to visit wine country. So I have a lot of friends who cook and make wine, and I'm constantly sort of watching them, observing their, sort of anthropologically, I suppose, observing their behavior. But I'm mostly a writer, and I love mystery novels. So more than anything else, I want the books to be a good read that you can soak into. I was about to say, well, you certainly do that well. Well, unfortunately, we are just about out of time, but for